So let's talk about FI07. This is joints and joint movements. And this is the last session of the first face-to-face weekend. So, this is a culmination type session and it finishes with a warm-up prac, really nice thing to finish on. Very importantly, you need to make sure that you've got at least 10 minutes at the end to go through your warm-ups. Very important. Now, the movements that the friends are going to learn during this session are ones that are going to be used and drawn upon for the rest of the course. This is also their very first foray into exercise analysis. So it's important when you do this to realise they get a lot more of this later on as it builds up. So we don't need to teach it all at once. Right? Stick to the plan. If you talk a lot about the types of joints in this session, you'll lose time, you'll bury the session. The main thing is for them to walk out with a good working knowledge of joint movement. Now, in terms of the joint movement, be really systematic as you go through it. The friends will appreciate it and you'll find it's a lot easier to teach. So as you go through movements like, say, flexion and extension, show what the movement is, flexion and extension. Show them on the slide. Get them to highlight the pair of movements in the book, and it's important to teach these in pairs. And then have them all stand up and go through the examples on themselves. Now, importantly, with a movement like flexion and extension, you're going to need to show flexion and extension at every joint that flexes and extends. So you talk about elbow flexion, elbow extension, shoulder flexion, shoulder extension, hip flexion, hip extension, knee flexion, knee extension, and so on. So the friends get the idea that it's more than one joint operating. Nice tip, say flexion of the shoulder, extension of the shoulder, and give them ways of remembering it. I flex to the front. I extend out the exit. So ways that they can remember it and have that following up and reinforcing all the way through. This is going to help them when you get into exercise analysis. Now, at the back end of the session, we look at joints in terms of joint stability, parts of joints, and there's some really busy slides there. Again, these slides will freak the friends out if they look at all the labels on them. So simply advise the friends that we're just looking at some key structures here. They don't need to know the names of them, but this is an example of a bone being joined to a bone, for example, by a ligament. This is a superficial view showing the patella and the patellar tendon. So keep it really simple so the friends don't freak out. When you get to the biomechanics or the body mechanics component of it, very importantly, be as visual as you can with your demonstrations. So looking at force arms versus resistance arms, show on the board, show using barbells, get the friends to stand up to experience and feel these things. You'll find that they'll learn it well, they won't freak out. Now, immediately after our body mechanics, we look at the friends' first foray into JAM, so exercise analysis. This is something they're going to be adding to all the way through the course. So for today, you only need to go through it in very, very brief detail. All right, so keep it simple. We're looking at joint, action, and muscle. Well, they haven't done muscles yet. So for this one, we're simply going to be talking about joints and the actions, and you use this more to review the things that they've been through, and again, to let the friends be settled that they know what they've learnt for today. Go no further than that. The last part of the session, this is the warm-up component, and this is borrowed from the FI08 session. So when you're looking at your delivery plan for this, the delivery plan for this is in FI08. What you need to do for this session is simply go through the coach demonstration component of this. So have some pumped up music, warm up appropriate, get the friends together and go through 2 different warm-ups. Go through, a basic step touch style warm-up, go through a squat and variation style warm-up so the friends get an idea of what it can look like, how things link together, and then you advise them that they're going to be taking warm-ups from the next face-to-face onward until the whole group's been through a warm-up each. So that'll give them a little bit of a exemplar from which they can work from. And that then rounds out the weekend. Remember at the end of the session to have a good talk about what's expected for them over the next 3 weeks before they come back for the next face-to-face weekend. So the session run for joints and joint movement. Start with your introduction, types of joint and joint movements. That takes you all the way up to the break. After the break, go through the grade 8 exercise, review the movements, look at body mechanics, and then look at jam. End of the session, last 10 minutes is warm-ups before your roundup.